Welcome to this edition of the All Average Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Brandon BT Taylor. Um, kind of want to get into some things. I'm not gonna get into like the legit details and everything. More like a general picture here of what was going on. So last Monday, I announced that the main event hub was shutting down and all shows would be done for the foreseeable future. When I said that last week, that was mainly due to the uncertainty of what was going on with me in life. More like financial stuff, what new job and time would be and stuff. Like I didn't know what was next. And I couldn't commit to doing this going forward last week. So last week, without getting into any details, I quit my job of 5 years. I'm not going to say where. Not going to get into details of why, except for it was a hostile work environment created by a higher up, where I was getting targeted for a lot of things. I ended up leaving work literally for 2 years with my mental health absolutely demolished, and a bunch of other things, which I don't really want to like get into. But I will get into the effect it had on me. So it was going on for about 2 years. I ended up abruptly quitting last Monday. And so it took its toll on me. And I just finally had enough. Was it the smart thing to do at the time with no backup plan in place? No, really wasn't. But I just had enough mentally with the specific place and management. Because of all this, I lost the passion to do a lot of things that I love doing, this included. And it became more of a attempted distraction rather than something I like doing. And that goes back to even when we were doing the Duffy BT and Bobby Wrestling show at the end. And when we were doing the All Average Wrestling show with Bobby and BT, to even this now and even shots fired. It was mainly all used as a distraction of everything. And it's later on became more of a drag to do. Not because I wanted to do it or because I like doing it. And I do. I actually like doing this. It's kind of a way to get a lot of like whatever if I'm doing a sports show or wrestling show. A lot of like takes and stuff I have to get off my chest rather than just type it on X for like 4 people to see or do it on Facebook, any of the groups. This is more like an easier avenue to do all that. I surprisingly rebounded quickly from from unknown unemployment, income, as any other, to I now have another job. Um, my hours are different. I'm no longer doing the known 3 a.m.s anymore. Um, I've at least this last week, I found peace. My stress is gone because of that place. My mental health is 10 times better than what it was compared to a week ago. Um, so with my schedule now, I'm able to now do a lot more things I wasn't able to do because of the early morning time frame that I was doing. If I wanted to, I could start doing post shows for Raw, SmackDown, AEW NXT. That I don't know if I'll do yet, which gets into what's next for the main event hub and all the shows. So I end up landing the job officially Monday. I'm not gonna get into what it is, just my pay is practically the same. There's some stuff I gotta figure out financially, which I don't think will be that hard to figure out budget and stuff. But so then after I figured that out, it really was what's next? What do I want to do? What do I How do I figure out what's next? Especially for this. Um the all average wrestling show. So for starters, the main event hub will still be a thing, but not really. Like I'm not changing the name on any like the socials we have on it because it's such a fucking great name for an all around thing. And in case I want to like expand later on, I'm gonna probably within the next few weeks, I'm gonna figure out what's next for shots fired because that one affects more than just me. But the goal is on my end to have shots fired this fall. It's just I got to figure out how. If I have to do StreamYard, I have to do StreamYard. I just got to figure out a budget. But it's really figuring out how to do shots fired because it's more than just me. Because I can technically, all average wrestling show has been recorded. It's always been recorded except for like 2 episodes. So it's very easy for me to go out of my way and record than it is to go live, especially with a lot of people, a lot of our schedules, a lot of us come together with all this. But the goal is within the next few weeks, after I figure out what I'm budgeting, how I'm budgeting, all this stuff with rent and necessity, all that other shit, happy go lucky shit, then I can sit down and figure out the best avenue for shots fired. Not the door is not closed on shots fired. It's more of figuring out what's next with that. Live show discussions that goes hand in hand with shots fired. I'm figuring out really what's next, how to do it, all that happy-go-lucky bullshit. Because I could technically do this just through OBS and all that stuff, and just me. But it is more fun at the end of the day when I do Shots Fired, when I do the live shows like the NFL Draft Show. And the NBA Finals is next month, so I'll most likely figure out something by then when it comes to the live shows and this, that, and the other. Elite Sports Take, barely got that off the ground, but that is something I am looking into doing now that I have more time and more of a availability and flexibility rather than doing this at like the crack ass of dawn on a Saturday or half awake in the middle of the week because I'm exhausted. And so Elite Sports Take, I'll think that will be happening. And then the All I've Addressed show, definitely still going on. Will definitely still be a thing. I feel like I can do more now. And I have my passion for this came back. Passion for a lot of things over the last week has come back. I'm 10 times happier than I was a week ago. I know people are like, well, it's a hell of a mental health swing. It's when you leave like an abusive relationship and you don't realize how bad, it's bad, but you don't realize how bad it was until after you're out of it. That's how this feels. I knew it was bad. I didn't realize how bad until I was out of it. And I have a renewed passion and hope for all of this and doing this. I can do 10 times more content than I was consistently doing beforehand that I can do now. And it's been I'm happy at the end of the day. And with all that, I'm ecstatic for what's next, what I can do next, especially with this. Because even if I don't do Shots Fired or even live shows anymore, I still love doing this. It doesn't cost money to sit here and record and get this podcast out and this, that, and the other. I love doing live because I'm able to interact with people, whether it's people I'm doing a show with or it's people or the very few that comment on the stream. And that's why I like doing the live. I loved doing this at one point in time. And then with everything going on, it became more like a chore because I didn't have the motivation to really be doing this. It became more of a distraction rather than a passion. And I'm ready to do this again. It's just really figuring out what's next for half of this. The other half's very easy to figure out and stuff. Not worried about it. But I'm in a 10 times better place than I was even 10 days ago. Happier. I sleep better. And I can't wait to really do more of this, get more content out, be more consistent with this, and just go back to having fun with this. And that's the main reason why I did it. When I started doing this years ago when we were in a Facebook group called Facebook Sports Debate, now named something else. I think it's Top Sports now, not. But me, LJ, who's on Shots Fired, and Ro, we started doing FSD Live every Wednesday. And that's when I started to completely love this. And then I started doing the Raw discussion threads live with Duffy in a wrestling group that we were in. And then me and Duffy transitioned more into a sports show where we started to interview wrestlers. And then when Bobby's show ended, that's when we brought Bobby in, and the Duffy BT and Bobby Wrestling Show became a thing, which incredibly well received. It was the most fun I had ever doing this. And then it branched out to more stuff. Shots Fired became a thing because me, Duffy, and Bobby mainly transitioned to wrestling going forward. And we had it was mainly for our groups that we ran at the end of the day for Facebook. And then it just became something more. It was the most fun I ever had doing this. Same with Shots Fired. And then probably near the end of when we were doing the Duffy BT and Bobby Wrestling Show, that's when all the shit that was going on with my job really started to begin. And it was just consistent. There's only so much you can take. 5 days a week, pretty much leaving feeling like a piece of shit, worthless, and all that other stuff. It does a toll on you. And then we did All Out Wrestling Show. That ended. But when we were doing that, I didn't really have like the passion at that time for it. At that time, it was more like this feels like a fucking drag. And then I started doing this, and as you obviously could tell, a lot of people who follow me on X, people who follow me on Facebook, you all realize how inconsistent pumping out content and stuff was. Like I'm not even sure. The WrestleMania post show review never saw the light of day. It was audio issues at the end of the day with that one. And on top of it, I just didn't have like the passion to go through and really fix all those issues with that episode. So it never saw the light of day. So I missed reacting to major moments like Darby winning the world title, Brock's retirement, and everything that happened with Mania. I'm in a better mental space now, and we're about 18 minutes in. You probably were like, okay, wrap it up, buddy. You're just fucking rambling for the last 18. But I'm in a better place. I can't wait for what's next, mainly for this main event hub. All of that. Keep main event hub name. It's still gonna be on the main event hub umbrella. I'm not changing the X name. That's pretty much gonna be my personal account and where I share this stuff. And yeah, that's where I'm at, So expect more of me going forward. I'll have an update probably in the next few weeks with Shots Fired. But yeah, that's just where I'm at. So while I am recording this here, I want to get into some wrestling news. We have Double or Nothing this weekend. Double or fucking nothing this weekend. And hey, for once, I can actually watch the show in full without falling asleep midway through because I work at 3 a.m. the next morning. So, Darby versus MJF, FTR versus Cope Christian, Thekla versus Chris Statlander versus Hikaru Shida versus Jamie Hayter. Got Okada versus Takeshita. You got Moxley versus O'Reilly. You have Stadium Stampede. And you have 2 first-round matchups of the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament, Ospreay versus Samoa Joe, and now Athena versus Mina Shirakawa. Let me just make sure that's all the matches that were announced here. So this is where you get like a little fucking break, but let's excuse me there. Figure this shit out. Okay. Oh yeah, Bandito versus Swerve Strickland, the other Owen Hart Cup matchup. And then for some reason you have Megan Bayne and Lena Cross versus Zeta Steel and Viva Van on the 0 hour. So I want to kick it off with Okada versus Takeshita for the AEW International Championship. Takeshita should win this bout here. I don't see the point of Okada going up 2-0 on him. I think the way you could justify Takeshita losing is Don Callis screwing him over at the end of the day. But then at that point, Takeshita's 0-2 against Okada. And recently, he's done nothing but lose. So it feels like this has to be Takeshita's moment. Maybe you do the turn on Dynamite, or you do the turn during this match, and it's something else rather than them turn on Takeshita midway through the match. But I feel like Takeshita should win this match. I am going with Takeshita to win this match. I think we will have a new AEW International Champion. And we'll have the Trilogy belt probably at Forbidden Door or All In. Or this Redemption pay-per-view that's set to happen in July that still hasn't been announced. I assume that will be announced this Sunday. Oh yeah, another thing with 0 Hour, Mick Foley is All Elite. Gonna be fun seeing Mick Foley around more. You didn't really see him a lot in WWE the last few years. Even when they were doing like special shows, you didn't see Mick Foley. So I'm happy Mick Foley is going to be back on our television. I do not, and I cannot stress this shit enough. I do not have the appetite or the interest in seeing Mick Foley wrestle ever again. And I'm seeing a lot of, I don't know if you call them media members or content creators within the pro wrestling sphere that are floating around and listing off dream matches for Mick Foley and AEW. Don't. What? Why? What? Well, he's younger than Sting. Mick Foley is in 10 times worse shape than Sting was. And Sting was extremely limited in AEW. I know people don't want to admit that Sting was limited. They're like, oh, Sting was amazing his final run. Little hot take here. Sting's run in AEW was not good. The retirement, the moment was amazing. 5 stars, probably one of the greatest send-offs in the history of professional wrestling. Match a little overrated, but the ending, the moment was one of the greatest send-offs you'll ever see in professional wrestling. But, and I doubt this was Sting's choice. Sting's entire run was practically no selling younger talent, practically making them look foolish. Guys like no selling guys like Brian Cage, doing the same high risk jump onto like 3 people where you're pretty much landing, or not 3, more like 5 people where you're landing practically on a pillow. The protection underneath. Like, they went out of their way to make sure Sting was safe. And that's a great thing on AEW's behalf. But people need to stop pretending like Sting's entire run in AEW was amazing. It wasn't. He didn't need to retire as a tag team champion. He didn't need to go 20-0 in AEW. No one benefited from the Sting rub. I'd argue not even Darby. So, yeah, stop pretending the Sting run was actually good. But back to Mick Foley. Mick Foley is going to be way more limited than Sting was. Foley has way more issues than Sting did. Sting had the neck issue. That was really it. Foley's got his hip, his knees, his fucking back, probably his neck, his fucking head. Trust me. What you think a Mick Foley return, or what you hope a Mick Foley return match would be, is not what it's going to be. Don't even attempt it. Don't even consider it. Just let Mick Foley come back. I don't want to see him on commentary. You have enough fucking commentators as it is. Maybe on-screen authority figure, so it's better than Tony Schiavone saying, "Oh, Tony Khan just made this official." We have someone that can, quote, kayfabe, make it official, or be... He doesn't have to be, like, above Tony Khan. He could just be, like, Tony Khan's head assistant. Or some shit. Kind of the role Christopher Daniels in. Or you could just leave Mick Foley for the pay-per-view pre-shows. Like, there's other roles for him. You don't need him for commentary, and you don't need him wrestling. Other than that, I'm ecstatic to see Mick Foley this Sunday on the Zero. Next match, FTR versus Cage and Cope in a I Quit match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. If Cage and Cope lose, they must retire as a tag team. With that stipulation alone, Cage and Cope are going to win this match. I think with Cope likely being done later this year at Wrestle Dream. The assumption is Wrestle Dream is where this is ending for him. Get him in Cage, the final run as a tag team. Or maybe he retires at All In. Who knows? But Cope is, if we're going to take Cope for his word, he is done at the conclusion of his AEW contract, which would be later this year. Give him the tag team titles. Get the trilogy bout with them out of the way. Get the Young Buck match you want out of the way. You have new tag teams coming in, New Day, or the fuck that we call New Woods. Well, Creed and Kofi. You have the Mostly Machine Guns likely coming in. Get those out of the way. And then let Cope and Cage ride off into the sunset, putting over a team as the tag team champions. But I think that Cage and Cope will win this match. I feel like this is the guarantee. One of the 2 guarantees of this card where I don't see any possible way that they lose. I do not see any scenario that Cage and Cope lose this match. I find it very hard to believe, especially with the amount of matches that are on the table with Cope and Cage. I'm calling them fucking Edge. With Edge and Christian. But give me Cope and Cage for the win here. That is one of my 2 guarantees match predictions on this card. Stadium Stampede, Jericho, Hurt Syndicate, and the Elite. Kenny Omega, Jungle Jack Perry, and the Young Bucks versus the Demand. Ricochet, Bishop Khan, Toa Leona. The Don Callis family representatives, Mark Davis and Andrade El Idolo. And the Dogs, Clark Connors and David Finlay. Jericho and Co. I think are going to win this match. I think they'll get their comeuppance. This is Stadium Stampede, aka Anarchy in the Arena, etc., etc. I'm not looking forward to this match. Like, it's going to be a clusterfuck. And it's going to be fun, especially for the people there. It's going to be fun. It might be a fun watch, who the hell knows, but like, I don't think this match was needed for this card. I think you could have done Ricochet versus Jericho or the Demand versus Jericho and Hurt Syndicate. You didn't need to bring in the Elite, who, no offense, Kenny and the Young Bucks, for the most part, have had nothing to fucking do with any of these people. The last, like, what? Month? 2 months? I mean, yeah, Omega's been feuding with a Don Callis family for like 8 years, but even that's taken a die down for the most part. And then I know for a fact none of them had any fucking thing with the Dogs. So I feel like this match is mainly we have nothing for the Elite, and we have nothing for the Dogs and Andrade. So here you go. That said, give me Jericho and the Elite and the Hurt Syndicate for the win here. I'm going to be interested to see if Lashley and Benjamin take any significant bumps or color in this match. Color, I mean blood. And yeah, give me the Elite for the win. I think Jericho will get the pinfall win over probably like Toa Leona or some shit. Next match on this card, Tekla versus Hikaru Shida versus Jamie Hayter versus Chris Statlander for the AEW Women's World Championship. Give me Tekla for the win here. I think Hikaru Shida eats the pin here. I don't see the point in giving her the AEW World Championship. I think her return run so far has been fucking abysmal. And I don't get her point in being in this match considering she is ice cold. Like, she's cold. This match in general does not make any sense. It's Hikaru Shida who is ice cold and has done nothing significant since returning to AEW. Jamie Hayter, who Tekla already beat clean. And Chris Statlander, who Tekla already beat clean. This is the issue you were running into from the last few years, where all you did was feed everyone to Mercedes Moné and Toni Storm. The only person that went over on Toni Storm is not even in the fucking company anymore. The one that truly benefited from going over on Toni Storm. Because Chris Statlander did not benefit at all. The only person that truly benefited from facing Toni Storm and actually beat Toni Storm isn't even in the company anymore. And then for Mercedes, you can't even say Willow. Because yeah, Willow got the win. But she also beat Willow. It's 1-1. And speaking of Mercedes, I'm actually shocked she's not in the Owen. So that is something I'm surprised no one in wrestling media has actually tried to sniff out or figure out why. Because that seems like a pretty big shock that she's not in it. because myself, like a lot of people, assumed that she was going to repeat as the Owen this year, and All In was going to be her quote unquote redemption. She was going to get the world title. But no. Give me Thekla for the win here. It makes the most sense for her to go into All In as the AEW Women's World Champion. There's really no one else, especially in this match, that makes sense for this, unless they're trying to go with Jamie Hayter to give her the quote unquote Wembley moment. But give me Thekla for the win here. Next match, my second. Actually, no. Not looking at the card. I said I had 2 guarantees. I have 3. But this one's my second. Samoa Joe versus Will Ospreay men's quarterfinal for the Owen Hart Cup. My second guarantee, Will Ospreay is going to win this match. I don't see any scenario Samoa Joe wins this. And the stars are aligning for Ospreay to win the Owen and main event All In. This is the first step to it. I think this match will be killer. Match of the night potential. But give me Will Ospreay for the win here. My other guarantee is the other men's quarterfinal in the Owen Hart Cup. The ROH World Champion Bandito versus Swerve Strickland. Give me Swerve for the win. That is my other guarantee. We're on a collision course to Ospreay versus Swerve in the finals at Forbidden Door. I don't see how or what shockingly ends that or gets in the way of that. But Ospreay and Swerve is the match. Feels like that is going to be the finals. I don't see how you go in a different direction with that. And it's literally, this is the issue with the Owen Hart Cup, especially on the men's side. It's very predictable. And it's clear you're on a course, you're on the road to Ospreay versus Swerve Strickland. But give me Swerve Strickland beating Bandito here. Side note here, I do not like that your Ring of Honor World Champion's pretty much been used to put other people over. That I do not like. Which is why I did not like Supercard of Honor last week. Side note to that. There was nothing with Supercard of Honor last week that made you like, I want to watch Ring of Honor tonight, Thursday as it's recording. It didn't bring you back. They did more to build up Collision the next night than they did to build up Ring of Honor going forward. And people are gonna say, "Well, Billy Starks they're gonna pull the trigger on Billy Starks now." The trigger on Billy Starks as champion should have happened 3 fucking years ago, when they were first doing it, when they first had Billy Starks turn on Athena. Not 3 years later for the 3rd time she's done this. And let's call it like it is at this point. The only reason Athena has not lost the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship is because they want her to pass Roman's Reigns. As petty as that is, as childish as that is, that's the only reason she's champion. Because it's 100%, it ran its course at least 2 years ago in Ring of Honor with her. She should be on AEW TV consistently going forward. You'll probably see a lot more of her with this Owen Hart Cup. But it makes her as champion makes no sense anymore. It hasn't made sense for about 2 years now. You're not going to get the moment you think you're going to get with Billy beating Athena for the title, because you've already done it 2 other times. You did the same story 2 other times. And it ended with Athena beating Billy and Billy running right back to Athena. Billy's moment was 2 years ago. It's not And that's what they're going to do at Final Battle. You're going to get it at Final Battle. This is going to finish off the year. Athena versus Billy Starks. And Billy's going to get the moment. She's going to win the title. And it's not going to hit the same as it would have 2 years ago. 3 years ago. It's not going to hit the same. So, and there's a lot I can get into with the issues of Ring of Honor and shit, which I'm not going to. But you can do, and you can go through a lot with the issues with Ring of Honor and how Tony Khan's been running Ring of Honor since he bought it. That's for another time. Next match on this actually is Athena versus Mina Shirakawa, the Women's Own Heart Cup quarterfinal. Originally, if I'm correct, this match was not supposed to be on this card. It was supposed to be Alex Windsor versus Willow Nightingale, the other Owen Hart Cup quarterfinal. Willow suffered an injury in an unnecessary match last week on Collision against Red Velvet, where Willow had to withdraw from the Owen and relinquish the TBS championship. So they moved this match to the card instead. I think Athena is going to win this match. They've done nothing to kind of present Mina Shirakawa as some sort of threat. And it'd be a really bad look if both your main Ring of Honor World Champions are one and done. That's a terrible look. And I think even Tony knows that, which is why I think Athena at least wins this match. Does she make it to the finals? I have literally no idea. I think it really depends. She's probably gonna have the Suri matchup. I think it really depends on Suri's availability. Honestly, my prediction for the finals is Windsor versus Suri, since it is Forbidden Door. And then with Athena, I think her and Suri will probably have a match at Death Before Dishonor as for Athena to get her win back. But give me Athena for this one. Jon Moxley versus Kyle O'Reilly. This match will have a no time limit for the AEW Continental Championship. I don't know why Jon Moxley is still the Continental Champion, but I think he's going to retain. I don't see Kyle O'Reilly winning this match. Is there a chance? Yeah. I think O'Reilly was probably going to I think there's a chance O'Reilly probably was going to win the Continental Classic or a singles title of some sort, maybe TBS, if he didn't get hurt after the Jon Moxley match back at Full Gear. But I think Moxley's going to get the win here. They're building up as Moxley overcoming his Kyle O'Reilly demon, and I think Moxley will win here. I honestly don't know who the fuck takes that title off him. I really don't. I don't think you're getting a Death Rider split. I have a hard time seeing that happen. And I don't think O'Reilly's going to be the one to take it off him. So give me Mox for the win here. And then your main event, Darby Allin versus MJF, title versus hair for the AEW World Championship. I asked this on X and in the Elite Wrestling Society Facebook group. With all the matches Darby has had the last month and everything we know now, if he loses this Sunday, which I think he's going to, I have MJF winning this match. Was this all worth it? Was the Darby reign actually worth it? Because every metric for AEW has gone down since Darby's won. And now people are going to be, well, the playoffs and Fox News, the Sean Hannity show, and all that other bullshit. It's gone down. The AEW World Championship, people are going to look at the defenses and be like, well, he defended titles this many times, and look at all the great matches he had. You can sit here and honestly say, maybe out of his like 8 defenses he had, 2, maybe 3 actually had a legit claim to an AEW World Championship match. Kevin Knight, who was a TNT champion. I'm not even going to say Brody King, because Brody King hasn't done shit. It's him. It's Kevin Knight. And then maybe Ciampa. Ciampa's a hard stretch there. But, like, go through the defenses here. Brody King. Kenosha Takeshita, who's done nothing. Pac. Sammy Guevara. Speedball Mike Bailey. Kevin Knight. And I feel like I missed someone, but probably wasn't fucking important to begin with. That's how many of those people can you honestly sit there and say deserved an AEW World Championship match? Well, Darby's a fighting champion. You can be a fighting champion all you want. It has to make sense. And most of these matches did not make sense. You didn't need to do Darby versus Brody King. Brody King has won fucking nothing. His moment of the year is a Nevada crowd chanting "fuck ice" before his match. Other than that, lost to MJF. He squashed MJF, but then he lost to MJF. He lost to Swerve. He's done practically nothing since the Swerve feud. He gets an AEW World Title match. Okay. Tommaso Ciampa. He won the TNT Championship. Lost it to Fletcher. He didn't really do much after that either. I mean, if I'm correct, he beat Briscoe. But, like, just beat Mark Briscoe doesn't equal a world title match. So you can argue, like, I want to be nice and say Ciampa maybe deserved it, but Ciampa didn't even fucking do shit to deserve it. So that's your first 2 defenses. Neither guy deserved it. Pac sure as fuck didn't deserve it. I can't. What the fuck did Pac do? Nothing. Kevin Knight. Kevin Knight's one that actually, you can argue, did deserve it. That's one guy that was worthy of it. Kenosha Takeshita. Dude has done nothing but lose on AEW television. For like, since December. You might be able to go beforehand. He definitely did not deserve that shot. And yeah, maybe originally it was going to be Okada. Which, okay, at that point, Okada did deserve. So you would have had 2, but can't play what if here. Takeshita was the challenger. Takeshita did not deserve it. Sammy Guevara. That Sammy Guevara one was probably the most egregious of this whole fucking reign. Sammy Guevara has not really been on AEW television since, let's call it like it is, since Mercedes Moné debuted in AEW. Sammy Guevara has not really been around. He's been mainly a Ring of Honor mainstay, for the most part. I don't care how good the Sammy and Darby Allin match was. Sammy Guevara did absolutely jack shit to warrant an AEW World Title match. There is nothing in this world that you could have turned around to justify Sammy Guevara challenging for the World Championship. That was by far the most egregious of all the World Title matches Darby had. And then it finished off with Speedball Mike Bailey, which Speedball didn't even fucking deserve it. Oh, he was on a 3-match win streak against local jobbers. He beat local jobbers. That doesn't equal a world title match. And then you got Roosh, who if Darby ends up winning, Roosh is next. And who the fuck is he beat? Local jobbers. So this Darby run, they're gonna sit there and turn around. Well, look at the major matches he had, and look how many defenses he had. He was a great champion. He devalued the title. When you got guys like Sammy Guevara and Pac and Speedball Mike Bailey, who've done absolutely nothing to warrant an AEW World Championship match. Getting AEW World Championship matches, having shows built around them, and them trying to make us believe they're an actual threat when it's not even close. We know they're not a threat. They've done nothing. There's an issue. You had all these people coming after MJF, all legitimate main eventers, world title contenders, actual world title contenders, and then Darby wins the world title, and you're sending the middest of the mid card after him. Like, what are we doing? Darby could be a great TV champion, but as a world champion, it's not it. At the end of the day, I don't think this was worth it. You had the buzz of Darby as champion for what, 24, maybe 36 hours. And then WrestleMania, the aura, whatever the fuck you want to call it, of WrestleMania really kicked in. Really kicked in. And you lost all that attention, and then you've just been ever since. So, I think MJF is going to win this match. I don't know if MJF holds on to it until All In, because All In feels like Ospreay's crowning moment. I think there's a chance MJF doesn't make it to All In as champion. But I think MJF will win this match. And another thing, you can't sit there and call Darby the fighting champion. But then he'll fight anyone. He'll fight everyone. Except MJF, unless he puts his hair on the line, which he's never boasted about at all on AEW television. So you made Darby look like a fucking coward. He'll take on all these subpar contenders free of charge. Anytime, anywhere. I'm a fighting champion. Except for that guy. You don't deserve it. Even though you probably deserved it a hell of a lot more than anyone else that I has challenged for this title. Who knows? But give me MJF for the win here. And that is your Double or Nothing card here. Few things I want to hit. Saturday Night Main Event is this weekend. There is nothing with that card that makes me want to sit down Saturday night and watch it. There's nothing. I don't know what truly on there that's worth it. I think they don't even know if the women's IC title is going to be on the line. They've switched that promotion like 3 times already. Regardless, I think Sol Ruka's winning that match. You got Street Profits versus Logan Paul and Austin Theory. I think Street Profits are going to win the tag titles. I think Brie Bella and Paige are going to retain their titles. Rhea and Co. are going to lose. And I think Ethan Page is going to win the Intercontinental Championship. And that's your closing moment for Saturday Night Main Event. And then we get into the lead into that, which would be pretty much the most anticipated match of the fucking year so far. El Grande Americano versus the original El Grande Americano, which, as of this recording, that match is up in the air right now because it's not guaranteed that Ludwig Kaiser is going to get clearance to go back to Mexico and wrestle this weekend. He was arrested for battery. The quote unquote story was an older gentleman was in the elevator. Ludwig and his girlfriend came in the elevator too. Ludwig and we assume it's his girlfriend, were passionately making out, was how it was described. And the guy said, of the effects, get a room. And Ludwig Kaiser beat the shit out of him. Is what pretty much the story was here. I don't know if it's updated as of this recording. Last I saw was John Ross Sapp said Kaiser's attorneys are trying to get a waiver or approval so Kaiser can go to Mexico and wrestle this weekend. I saw Heel say he thinks Kaiser's going to be safe here. I don't know. Because they fired people for less. And yes, he's huge for AAA right now. He's their biggest fucking star in AAA. But if he can't go to fucking Mexico, or he gets the waiver for a one-time approval here while this is going on. So he gets to approval for this match and say after this, once he comes back, he can't leave the country until this is done. I don't know how you can sit here and say he's safe, because at that point, the investment in him is gone. No, I don't know. I don't think it will come down to that. I think he'll probably get the waiver. They'll end up doing the match. I think regardless if you're done with him and you want to get this gimmick off him and stuff, he should still win this weekend. Chad Gable's run as El Grande Americano is over. It's ran its course. Let him come back to be Chad Gable and let American Made, whatever the fuck they call it, the Creed brothers, actually do some damage in the tag division that they're quote unquote trying to rebuild, because one of the news that's coming out is they're actively trying to rebuild the tag team division to a point, and quote, they're willing to spend on it. It comes to people outside of WWE. That includes, my guess, AEW tag teams that could be up soon, New Japan tag teams that could be up soon, tag teams that are currently available that aren't really signed anywhere. So, and that led into the big rumor is that Enzo and Cass are going to end up coming back to WWE. That's interesting. That is interesting. I don't know if they'll be as over as they were. I really don't. But it seems like both Cass and Enzo are in 10 times better places in life, to where return makes sense. I don't know if they'll actually do anything, but you'll have that novelty group back again. Now, I don't know if Enzo will be back. I do think Cass's contract expires sometime next week, is the assumption. He is either the end of May or right at the beginning of June. So we'll just call it as next week or the week after his contract's up. I think he will be back in WWE. I don't know about Enzo, but him being backstage at NXT and being at the PC multiple times apparently, I think that's clear they're doing Enzo. Enzo is probably going to be back too. So be on the lookout potentially for an Enzo and Cass return to WWE. That is the current rumor going around. The other rumor going around is Baron Corbin is going to be WWE bound again. Corbin seemingly shut that down, but that could be Corbin kayfabe in it. But yeah, so Enzo and Cass and Baron Corbin could be WWE bound coming soon. So that's it. That's all I have. I expect to be around to have a lot more, pump out a lot more content, and get back to doing this how I wanted to do it. How just have fun with this again. And that's all. That's why I've done this. That's why I do this. I've never made a dime off this. If I make money off this, cool. If I don't, whatever. But I'm happy and expect more of the All Average Wrestling Show, Elite Sports Take, etc. going forward. And with that said, I'll see you next time. Thank you.